بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah, everyone is doing okay, everyone is well, hopefully, bidnillah. That's what I hope for all the viewers and watchers. Everything's good with the sound and the audio, the video, bidnillah. Before we get started with the class, please don't forget to join us again on this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. for our exclusive Q&A marathon. And also this upcoming Thursday at 9:30 p.m. with regards to interracial marriages in light of the Quran and Sunnah. It's 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's not too late to sign up, purchase your tickets, and register for this exclusive event. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you to all of the supporters, watchers, and viewers whom, after the permission and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make these types of videos possible. Let's get started with Kitab al-Hajj from Lu'Lu wal-Marjan. All praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has allowed us to successfully begin and finish Kitab al-Siyam, and to successfully begin and finish Kitab al-I'tikaf. And by Allah's permission, we will successfully begin and finish Kitab al-Hajj. We're coming up on hadith number 731. Inshallah, I'll reach the 800 hadith hallmark, or mark or post, bi'idhnillah. As a friendly reminder, the class is not for the questions. Please do not post questions during the class. Please do not busy yourself posting questions, answering questions, posting links during the class. Please do not busy yourself and busy others with advising people, refuting people, criticizing people, slandering people, praising people, anything aside from listening and paying attention. Bidnillah. As far as if and when the Q&A session begins, please do not forget to obey our rules by putting your name and last name, or first initials and last initials, your city and state, town, village, province, etc. before your questions. And also, please do not forget and ignore to obey our other rules of coming to the question and answer session with an empty cup, with an open mind, and with a sincere intention, and not slandering or backbiting any Muslim, regardless of who they are, as long as they're Muslims, and without unnecessarily mentioning names and things like this. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thanks a lot in advance for understanding. So the 15th chapter is Kitab al-Hajj, or the 15th book is the book of Hajj. Last week we talked briefly about the importance of Hajj from the two aspects, or the two angles, the first being that of the spiritual, and the second being that of the technical, the spirituality and the technicality. The meaning of Hajj, the secret of Hajj, the wisdom of Hajj, the history of Hajj, the aims and objectives of Hajj, and also the rulings of Hajj. The rulings of Hajj. Khairan, inshallah. So let's get right into the technical ahkam. Chapter number 1 says, Babu ma yubahu lil muhrimi bi hajjin aw umratin wa ma la yubahu wa bayani tahrim at-tibi alayhi. It says what is permitted for the muhrim in Hajj and Umrah, and what is not permitted, and the forbiddance of the use of perfume. I.e., this first chapter is starting off with the libasul ihram, the clothing of ihram, the things that the men, in most cases, and for the majority, and in some cases, in the minority, the women are going to wear, they can and cannot wear, can and cannot do when they're in this sacred, sanctified, and viable state. When they have entered the holy zone, the sacred zone, which is mental, spiritual, physical, metaphysical, when it's time to perform a Hajj and or Umrah. Hajj and or Umrah, I've entered into this state, I've passed these boundaries, these borders, the time has come, I'm now in this zone, this state, in which there are certain physical things that I cannot do, certain verbal utterances that I cannot make. So things which are lawful for the muhrim, the pilgrim, who's in the state of ihram, and things which are unlawful for the muhrim, the pilgrim in the state of ihram. Everyone understand this? That's what's meant by that chapter heading. That what you can and that what you cannot do. Establishing and refuting and rejecting. Establishing, teaching you from the beginning, and also debunking and refuting and rebuking some misconceptions that people have about ihram. About ihram, things that you can't do in ihram, in actuality you can. That's what this chapter heading is about. So al-ihram is one thing and libas al-ihram is another. Sometimes they go hand in hand, they're parallel and consistent. Other times they do not and they are not. What's important is once you've entered the metaphysical, psycho-spiritual zone, the realm of it's time for ihram, it's time to begin my umrah, it's time to begin my hajj, now a time comes with certain types of clothing you cannot wear, you can no longer wear. Certain things with regards to your hair, your fingernails, your mustache, your armpits, etc. you cannot trim, you cannot cut. Certain things that you could normally say and do with your wife, you can no longer do. But there is a misconception, or not even necessarily a misconception with some, and that is the usage of perfume for men. When they are in the state of ihram, can they use perfume or not? Can they put perfume on before the clothing of ihram or not? Before the ihram or not? Aqd niyyah, making the intention or what? Or not. And also, what is the ruling of a woman using perfume before and during and after Hajj? All right, can a woman perfume herself when she leaves the home, or is that impermissible? Can a woman put on body mist or body butter or lotion, body wash that has a strong scent, deodorant, powder, things like this, lip gloss, in which the scent is being it's shared, all right, when you leave the home or not? And if you can, is it now haram in the state of al-ihram? Khairan inshallah ta'ala. So the first hadith is hadith 731. It says, حديث عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن رجلا قال يا رسول الله ما يلبس المحرم من الثياب؟ قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يلبس القمص ولا العمائم ولا السراويلات ولا البرانس ولا الخفاف إلا أحد لا يجد نعلين فليلبس خفين وليقطعهما أسفل من الكعبين ولا تلبسوا من الثياب شيئا مسه الزعفران أو ورس. Hadith 731 is narrated by Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be well pleased with them both. A man asked Allah's Messenger, what kind of clothes should a muhrim wear? Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, replied, he should not wear a shirt, a turban, trousers, a head cloak, or leather socks, except if he can find no slippers, then he may wear leather socks after cutting off what may cover the ankles. And he should not wear clothes which are scented with saffron or worse, various kinds of perfumes. Hadith number 732, Hadith ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma qala سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يخطب بعرفات من لم يجد النعلين فليلبس الخفين ومن لم يجد إزارا فليلبس سراويل للمحرم. Narrated Ibn Abbas, I heard the Prophet ﷺ delivering a khutbah at Arafah, saying, if a muhrim does not find slippers, he could wear khufs. And if he does not find an izar, he could wear trousers. Hadith 733, Hadith Ya'la, قال لعمر رضي الله عنه أري النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو أري النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حين يوحى إليه قال فبينما النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالجعرانة ومعه نفر من أصحابه جاءه رجل فقال يا رسول الله كيف ترى في رجل أحرم بعمرة وهو متضمخ بطيب؟ فسكت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ساعة فجاءه الوحي فأشار عمر رضي الله عنه إلى يعلى فجاء يعلى وعلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ثوب قد أظل به فأدخل رأسه فإذا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم محمر الوجه وهو يغط ثم سري عنه فقال أين الذي سأل عن العمرة؟ فأتي برجل فقال اغسل الطيب الذي بك 3 مرات وانزع عنك الجبة واصنع في عمرتك كما تصنع في حجتك. Narrated Ya'la said to Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, show me the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah upon him, when he is being inspired divinely. While the Prophet ﷺ was at Ji'rana, a person came and asked, O Allah's Messenger, what is your verdict regarding the person who assumes ihram for Umrah and is scented with perfume? The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, kept quiet for a while, and he was divinely inspired. Then Umar beckoned Ya'la, so he came, and Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah, was shaded with a sheet. Ya'la put his head in and saw the face of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah, was red, and he was snoring. When that state of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah, was over, he asked, where is the person who asked about Umrah? Then that person was brought, and the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah, said, wash the perfume off of your body thrice, and take off the cloak, and do the same in Umrah as you do in Hajj. So we have 731, 732, 733, 3 authentic hadiths, all of them proving the same thing. All 3 hadiths are in Bukhari and Muslim, and they all lead to one general dilala. كلها تدل على دلالة فقهية واحدة. All of them prove one thing. And once more, a friendly reminder, brothers, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that on the day of Jum'ah, إِذَا قُلْتَ لِصَاحِبِكَ, if you tell your brother to be quiet, what has happened? If your brother is talking and you tell him to be quiet, what is the ruling of your Jum'ah? So if someone's asking questions during the session, you telling them to be quiet, questions are afterwards, blah, 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 you've also violated the rules. So if someone is violating the rules, leave them be. Hopefully they'll get the message. No questions, no posts, no comments during the session. Jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah allow you to understand. Ameen. Not even assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, Sheikh? Nothing. Once the Q&A, different story. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. As of now, everyone should be listening, watching, with their pen and their pad, circling, highlighting, taking notes, etc. Jazakumullahu khairan for understanding. So all 3 of these authentic hadiths in Bukhari and Muslim prove one thing, and that is there are restrictions with regards to clothing. There are restrictions with regards to clothing once a person is in the state of ihram. For Hajj and for Umrah. Clear. Regardless of the details of those restrictions, what can and you cannot wear. Perfume you can and cannot put on. But there are restrictions. And when you perform the Hajj, you cannot just do whatever you want to do. Khairan inshaAllah. An-Nawawi rahimahullah, before we extract many benefits, these are some juicy benefits in these hadiths. We'll read An-Nawawi's introduction regarding the Kitab of Hajj. He says, Al-Hajju bi-fathi al-ha'i huwa al-masdar, wa bil-fathi wal-kasri jami'an huwa al-ismu min, wa asluhu al-qasd, wa yutlaqu ala al-amali aydan, wa ala al-ityani marratan ba'da ukhra, wa aslu al-umrati az-ziyara. He says the word Hajj linguistically means, and obviously he talks about the pronunciation of it, Hajj with a fatha. Hajj linguistically means al-qasd, intention, objective, something that you want, something that you're after. That's what it literally means. Al-qasd, your aim, where you're intending to go, what you want. And it is also, he says, وَيُطْلَقُ عَلَى الْعَمَلِ أَيْضًا. And Hajj is also, or it also linguistically means work, labor, something that you do, something that you, a means of toiling. And it is also meant coming time after time, over and over again. Al-Ityan, over and over again. These are all the linguistical meanings of Hajj, not according to Islam, Quran, Sunnah, the way of the Salaf, the Arabic language. The pure, organic, raw Arabic language, Ha, Jim, Jim, that's what an Arab would understand. Whether he was a Muslim, a pagan, an atheist, a munafiq, a Jew, a Zoroastrian. But if he was naturally taught and skilled in the pure Arabic language, those are the meanings he would understand from the word Hajj. Moving forward, he says, as far as Umrah, then Umrah means az-ziyarah. It means visitation, to visit something, to visit someone. Like we explained in all of our different workshops and seminars and classes over the years, the importance of the linguistical meanings and their connections to what? the Islamic meanings and the technical meanings. And the same rules apply to English as well, as we have stated before. Knowing where a word comes from in English. Does it come from Latin? Does it come from German? Does it come from Dutch? Does it come from French? Does it come from Arabic? Where does this word come from? All right? An example of this is the concept of medicine and the pharmacy and a doctor and holistic medicine and herbs and blah, 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 blah. We talk about a drugstore. Why is medicine called drugs? And we also call intoxicants and narcotics drugs. Why do they have the same name? There's a reason behind that, linguistically. Why is Coca-Cola called Coca-Cola? And cocaine considered a drug? There's a reason behind that. There's a reason. There's a linguistic and historical context between those connections. And the word drug in the English language, the experts of the language say it comes from a Dutch word droog. And the word droog, they say it means plants, green leaves. So that's a faida in the lugha. You understand that the original drugs were leaves, were plants. So everything doesn't have to be a pill or a tonic or a serum, a purple or red or green liquid in a glass bottle in a pharmacy back in the day. But the original drugs, healing, came from green, came from plants, all right? And the concept of how things went from herbs to pharmaceutical pills is a faida behind that linguistically and then historically. Moving forward, Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ الْحَجَّ فَرْضٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُكَلَّفٍ حُرٍّ مُسْلِمٍ مُسْتَطِيعٍ. He says, and then you should know that Hajj is mandatory upon every mukallaf, sane and of age. Every mukallaf who's sane and of age, everyone who's mukallaf, and you have to be free. Meaning if you're a slave, a bondsman, or a handmaiden, you are not required to perform Hajj. Mustati'. And then you have to be mustati'. You have to have the ability, the capability, the capacity to perform the Hajj. What is capability? We'll get there. He says, واختلف العلماء في وجوب العمرة فقيل واجبة وقيل مستحبة. Furthermore, the scholars differ on the ruling of Umrah. Do you have to make Umrah, or is it an additional? Is it recommended? It's something that you do not have to do. Some scholars hold the view that Umrah is obligatory. And other scholars hold the view that it is only preferred, it's recommended to do. وَلِلشَّافِعِيِّ قَوْلَانِ أَصَحُّهُمَا وُجُوبُهَا. He says, and Shafi'i, in two different versions of his madhab, meaning once he said something and another time he said something else. Once he said that it was mandatory, and another time he said that it wasn't. He says that the correct view from Shafi'i, meaning not the correct view to the other scholars, to the proofs and evidences, but the correct madhab of Shafi'i, the accurate quote of Imam Shafi'i, is that Umrah is obligatory. Umrah is mandatory. He says, وأجمعوا على أنه لا يجب الحج ولا العمرة في عمر الإنسان إلا مرة واحدة إلا أن ينظر فيجب الوفاء بالنذر بشرطه. He says, and the scholars also agree unanimously, all madhabs, is that a person only has to make Hajj and or Umrah once during their lifetime. Only once, not twice, not three times, unless a person makes a vow. Oh Allah, if you allow me to graduate from law school, I will perform Hajj for your sake. Oh Allah, if you heal my sick grandmother who's dying from breast cancer, I will go make Hajj for your sake. Oh Allah, if you allow me to open up this business successfully, I will make Umrah for your sake. If you make that vow, then you must fulfill that vow, and it becomes mandatory. وإلا إذا دخل مكة أو حرمها لحاجة لا تتكرر من تجارة أو زيارة ونحوهما ففي وجوب الإحرام بحج وعمرة خلاف العلماء كذا خلاف العلماء ولعل الظاهر خلاف للعلماء لعل هذا هو الأصوب وهما قولان للشافعي أصحهما استحبابه والثاني وجوبه بشرط أن لا يدخل لقتال ولا خائفا من ظهوره وبروزه. He says here, another issue here, further discussion with regards to entering Mecca. A person goes to Mecca or the Haram, sacred area of Mecca, for a need that isn't over and over again, reoccurring, such as visiting something in which is only one time versus it happening over and over again. Then the scholars, they differ. Does a person have to make Hajj or Umrah or not? A person who lives in Mecca My wife is in Mecca, my children are in Mecca, my husband is in Mecca, I go there to study, it's going to keep happening, in a different story. A person just coming to Mecca and it's not reoccurring, do they have to make Hajj or Umrah or not? The scholars, they differ over that, right? Obviously, he didn't have no intention on the Hajj and the Umrah, but he went to Mecca. He says here, Shafi'i also has two versions of his madhab, and the most correct version of Shafi'i's madhab is that it's only recommended. طيب, and then other details we'll move on. قال واختلفوا في وجوب الحج هل هو على الفور أم التراخي أو التراخي. Scholars also differ on when do you have to make Hajj. Is it immediately obligatory or only obligatory when you want to do it? In other words, the moment that I get the money, I have the health, a woman has the mahram, does she have to go immediately or can she delay it? And it's a very important concept in Islam on when you have to do certain acts of worship. An example of this is when you oversleep for a prayer. Do you have to make it up immediately or are you allowed to make it up later on? You miss days in Ramadan, do you have to make them up immediately or can you make them up later on? And it's a very important fiqh principle with regards to the 6 days of Shawwal. With regards to a woman who missed days because of breastfeeding or her menstruation or whatever the case may be. Do you have to make it up immediately or can you give yourself a break and prioritize? طيب. He says here, فقال الشافعي وأبو يوسف وطائفة هو على التراخي إلا أن ينتهي إلى حال يظن فواته لو أخره عنها. As far as Imam Shafi'i and as far as Abu Yusuf, one of the main disciples of Imam Abu Hanifa and other scholars, then they hold the view that Hajj does not have to be made immediately. You don't have to make Hajj immediately. Even if you have the ability to do it, you don't have to. Unless a time comes in which you really feel and think that you'll never have another opportunity. You won't have another opportunity. Now, obviously, these statements of these scholars, they were made over 1,000 years ago. That's a long time, guys. It's a very long time. 1,000 years ago, they debated on this. Look now, coronavirus. The people who delayed their Hajj, who delayed their Umrah, and they had the money, they had the health, they had the mahrams. I guarantee right now they're regretting it. Only Allah knows what will happen next year. Will they open up Hajj and Umrah for 1 million people, 3 million people? Who knows? Will they mandate vaccines that will change your DNA, your RNA, turn you some type of mutant robot freak? Allahu Alam, what's going to happen? And what they're going to force upon the people because of the fear of death, the fear of sickness, the COVID-19 outbreak. Who knows? So the people who negligently, nonchalantly delayed Hajj and Umrah, they're going to bite their fingers. They're going to bite their hands now. Now you can't go. Now we only accept 200 people from this country, 50 people from this city. Now you have to get a vaccine because of Bill Gates. He told us, he's saying the world has to get the vaccine that my company has created. So this is a lesson of not delaying and not procrastinating. And the same applies to brothers and sisters when they go seek knowledge. They want to go seek knowledge. Inshallah, I'm going to do it. Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. And that's all they have is inshallah. Now what? The borders are closed. Now what? You have to sit in 2 weeks of quarantine. Now what? The school is not accepting nobody. I told you to go, ya akhi. 5 years ago, I told you to go to Medina. You wanted to sit and relax and just chill. You wanted to talk about people on the internet. You wanted to marry this sister and do this. And you wanted to waste your time. Now you can't go. So take advantage of time and opportunity. There's no such thing as later on. There's no such thing as ba'dain, inshallah. Do it now. Take the initiative because nothing is promised and guaranteed to you. That's the wisdom, guys. Moving forward, they say, وقال أبو حنيفة ومالك وآخرون هو على الفور والله أعلم. And others, they say that you must make the Hajj immediately. You must make the Hajj immediately. As soon as you get the money, as soon as you have the mahram, as soon as you have the health, you gotta do it. So the scholars, they differ on this. And the examples that I just gave clearly prove the importance of making Hajj as soon as you can. There's no guarantee there'll be another corona outbreak. WHO, Dr. Fauci, who knows what they're going to decree and mandate, and the Muslims are going to blindly follow them and obey them and listen to them to the T. Who knows? Will there be another terrorist attack? Who knows? What they're going to blame, and who knows what's going to happen? You never know what's going to happen. Airplanes, passports, you never know. So take advantage of your time, of your health, of your money. You want to buy expensive shoes, expensive this, and buy this. Go make a Hajj. Go perform a Hajj if it's obligatory upon you to do so. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Khairan, inshallah. Now, the next chapter, Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, oh, before we go back to Nawawi, let's get back to our extracting of these fawaid from these hadiths. So first and foremost, hadith number 731, we benefit from this, the recommendation of asking questions to the learned scholars of Islam. Number 2, we benefit from this is that the unlawful things and the prohibited things in Islam are limited. They're limited. And that the lawful things are unlimited. Also, we benefit from this, the wisdom of the mufti, the one who gives the fatwa, the one who answers the question, the one who passes on the ruling of Allah and His Messenger, to give it in a comprehensive manner. The man said, what can I wear? What should I wear? Kayfa, oh ma yalbasul muhrim. The Prophet ﷺ never told him how to dress. He never told him what to wear. But instead, he only told him what not to wear and how not to dress. Understand the wisdom here? The sharpness and the precision. The man said, what should I wear? He never gave him advice on what to wear. He never gave him a ruling on what to wear, but he told him what not to wear. And that is wisdom. And that's because if I can give you things that you can't do, that means that the rest of it is what? Is open. So a person, he goes into the refrigerator, he says, Mufti, Abu Ramla, what of your food and your snacks and your drinks can I have? Or what should I eat? I say, don't touch my tea. Don't touch my chocolate chip cookies. Don't touch my cold pizza. Don't touch my leftovers of such and such and such and such. In other words, the rest of the refrigerator, fuck up. Cake, this, juice, whatever you find in the fridge, eat as much as you like. That's much better than me saying, oh, you can have this and you can have that. I've restricted you what you can eat instead of telling you what you cannot eat. And this is the hikmah of al-Islam. This is with regards to impermissible drinks. This is with regards to what women you can marry. This is with regards to what color your overgarment has to be. And this is with regards to what style. There's no restriction on the lawful things, but it's only a restriction on the unlawful things. And people day and night, they talking about Islam is so hard, it's so many rules, it's so difficult. I don't want to be a Wahhabi, it's so strict, the hadiths are so strict, but they're blinded to the reality. Is that in actuality, the hadiths give you leniency. The hadiths give you the boundaries, the parameters, and anything besides that, tafaddal. Wear what you want to wear, dress how you want to dress, drink what you want to drink, eat whatever you want to eat, marry whoever you want to marry. As long as it's not A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And that's easier in life. It's easier. And the proof for this is, and refuting and rejecting the people who attack Islam and attack the Sunnah, and they call anyone who tries to follow the Sunnah a Wahhabi, he's blind following Ibn Abdul Wahhab, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. It's sports. Sports. And the hypocrisy of people, but they play and they watch and they enjoy sports. Why are there markers on the football field, on the soccer field? Why are there white lines? Why is there a goal? Why are there restrictions? Except to show the players that you can run anywhere you want to run, make any play you want to play, run as fast or slow as you want to, pass or do whatever you want to do, as long as you don't go out of bounds, as long as you don't go off of sides, encroachment, traveling, whatever sport you're playing. Think about that now. Think about that. Did you ever think about sports? They never tell you what play you can and cannot do. Never. They never tell you offensive scheme and strategy you can't do. Never. But they tell you the illegal formations. This is out of bounds. You can't do this. You can't hit the quarterback like that. If you want to hit him running this, that, tafaddal, do whatever you want to do, as long as you don't violate the specific rules. And you're free to choose your offensive and defensive scheme. Everyone understand this? And there are many people who say things like this, and they look at these worldly examples and they don't take an example. They say, oh, well, time doesn't matter, points doesn't matter, winning doesn't matter. That's not true. If winning wasn't important, there wouldn't be no points. There wouldn't be a scoreboard. There wouldn't be a record if winning wasn't important. All right? And it just goes to show you the wisdom of different people, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. Muslim and non-Muslim alike. And there are people who aren't keeping it real as Muslims and non-Muslims. People who say, oh, this boxer, he's only out for money. He's only concerned about money. He only wants money. $40 million for one fight, blah, 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 blah. They're not keeping it real. They're not being honest. And that boxer, with his worldly wisdom, he said, of course it's about money. And if it wasn't about money, why am I called a prize fighter? A prize fighter. Of course I'm in it for money. Of course I want a bigger, fatter purse. Of course. But it doesn't mean I neglect the art of boxing. It doesn't mean that I don't follow the rules and the tradition and the lineage of great boxers. But I'm in it to win it. I'm in it for money. And the people who want me to destroy myself, they want me to be beat up and punch drunk, my teeth knocked out. They want me to just throw my hands and not fight strategically, defensively. Where are they going to be when I'm old and I'm retired and I can't talk? Where are they going to be when I'm shaking and I can't play with my grandchildren? Where are they going to be? They're not going to care about me. They're not going to say, oh, he was a brave, great boxer. They're going to have no concern. So think about that. Keep it real. Be honest with yourself. So in Islam, are the rules really that many, that much? Or are the haram things limited? Is there a hadith telling you what you have to wear? Is there a hadith saying the style that you have to have? There is none. There's a hadith telling you what you can't wear. A hadith telling you women that you can't marry. Hadith to say men that you can't marry. You want to marry a tall brother, a short brother, a dark brother, a light brother, a skinny brother, a fat brother, a muscle bound brother? Tafaddali. You're free. You do whatever you want to do. There's no restrictions on that. But can't be a kafir. Can't be this. Can't be that. And then the rest of it is open, fair game. So the wisdom of the Sharia is always to limit the unlawful things. And Allah tells us about the halal things as examples, reinforcing what we already know, and encouraging and teaching and showing us. But at the end of the day, the things are open for us. Eat, drink, do however, whatever you want to do, as long as you don't violate the unlawful sacred things. And this is tremendous wisdom that the callers to Islam should take from this hadith. When they return back to their communities, they shouldn't necessarily focus on telling their community what they have to do about these different worldly or cultural things. But they should focus on teaching their communities about the unlawful things. And if you come from Pakistan, do things that the people of Pakistan do. If you come from Afghanistan, if you come from Iraq or Kurdistan, if you come from Ivory Coast and Mali, do as you want to do. You want to be urban, you want to be hip, dress as you want to wear a hoodie and Timbs and boots, tafaddal. As long as it does not violate the rules of Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tonight was where we'll stop. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best, and it is Him that we ask for fiqh fi deen, and for wisdom, and for forthrightness in statement and action. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.